Hello everyone, you've found our channel, a place to dive into intriguing myths and the captivating legends of ages past. So today, we're journeying back to the world of ancient Egypt. There, we discover Ra, the mighty sun god. He's an incredibly central character in Egyptian mythology. Ra often appeared as a man with a falcon's head, wearing a bright, shining sun perched on top. But he wasn't just a sign of the sun. He was believed to have created everything, ruled over all the gods, and was a key character in the lives of ancient Egyptians. His tales are so closely tied to Egyptian culture, shaping how they see the world and understand life and death. Part 1. The creation of the world. Before there was a world, everything began in a universe that had only darkness and chaos. This churning sea of nothingness was known as noon. But noon wasn't just empty. It symbolized the first state of the universe before creation. It stood for chaos and limitless possibility. But then something incredible happened. From this dark sea, a lovely lotus flower rose. As its petals opened, the bright and brilliant form of Ra appeared. He was the first god and the one who brought light. The first thing Ra did was push away the darkness with his strong light, and so he brought order into chaos around him. Next, he started creating the world. With his own energy, he made two other gods, Shu, who was the god of air, and Tefnut, the goddess of moisture. In Egyptian mythology, these gods stand for natural elements that are necessary for life and creation. Air and moisture were the basics for everything else. Shu and Tefnut had kids, Geb, the god of earth, and Nut, the goddess of sky. They loved each other so much, they were always together, which left no room for other things to be there. Ra saw the need for order in the world, so he told Shu, the god of air, to separate them. So Shu lifted Nut up to become the sky, while Geb stayed below as the earth. This separation let the world take shape. After earth and sky were set, life started to grow. Plants grew, animals showed up, and finally, humans came about, all thanks to Ra's light and energy. But Ra's work wasn't over. Every day he had to take a risky trip across the sky. This trip kept everything balanced. Part 2. Ra's daily journey across the sky. Each morning when the sun came up in the east, Ra got into his golden boat, bright like the sun itself. This boat, known as the Man-Jet, or boat of millions of years, carried Ra on a trip across the sky, starting at sunrise and ending at sunset. This marks the time passing. Ra didn't have an easy trip. As the sun god, he had to keep Mahat, the ancient Egyptian idea of order, truth, and balance in the universe. Mahat wasn't just about order and truth. It was the cosmic balance keeping harmony around. Without Mahat, chaos would take over. Ra's biggest enemy was Apep, also called Apophis, a huge snake that stood for chaos and darkness. Apep wanted to swallow the sun and bring endless night to the world. While Ra traveled through the sky, Apep would come up from the underworld to attack him. The fight between Ra and Apep was ongoing. Apep's attacks stood for the everyday fight between light and dark, order and chaos. The winner decided if day or night would win out. But Ra didn't fight alone. Other gods and spirits would join him to guard the sun. Set, the god of storms and chaos, was one of Ra's strongest teammates, and he stood at the front of the boat, ready to fight Apep. Egyptians thought these battles showed why day turns into night. If Ra won and Apep lost, the sun would rise and fill the world with light and life. But if Apep got the advantage, darkness would take over. Fortunately, because of Ra's power and help from other gods, he always succeeded in beating Apep, even if it was tough. At the end of the day, when Ra got to the edge of the sky, he started his trip into the Egyptian underworld, a dark and mysterious area called the Duat. Here, Ra met new challenges as he traveled in his evening boat, named the Mesektet. During this trip, Ra turned into a ram-headed figure, which showed his journey through the land of the dead. By changing form, Ra shows his different roles, being the sun god who brings light to the world by day, but taking on another shape at night to move through the dangerous underworld. This is the sun's path through the land of the dead. He brought light to the souls in the underworld and got ready for his new start at dawn. The trip through the underworld also stood for the journey of the soul after death. People of ancient Egypt thought that when someone died, their soul would travel with Ra, hoping to be born again in the afterlife, just like Ra was born again every morning. This belief in death and being reborn was key to how they saw the soul's endless journey. Part 3. The Eye of Ra and Humanity's End. Ra didn't just create and guard things. He could be a strong force to wreck stuff when provoked. One example is the tale about the Eye of Ra and how it led almost to the extinction of humanity. As time went by and Ra got older, he saw humans were starting to disregard his control and act poorly, making fun of the laws of Mahat. This made him angry, so he decided they needed to be punished. He used his eye, a powerful force that could change forms, like when it turned into Sekhmet, the fierce lioness goddess. The Eye of Ra shows his anger in many shapes, with Sekhmet being just one of them. Ra had Sekhmet go to Earth to deal with the humans who were causing trouble. She released her anger, creating chaos wherever she went. Her rage was so strong that the Nile River turned red with blood. It looked like no one could escape from what she brought. But Ra soon realized that Sekhmet's thirst for blood was out of control, and people were on the edge of being wiped out. To save everyone, Ra thought of a smart way. He told his priests to make lots of beer and mix it with red ochre so it looked just like blood. This mix was then spread all over the fields where Sekhmet was raging. Sekhmet saw the beer, thought it was blood, and drank it quickly. She got drunk, then finally fell into a deep sleep. Once she woke up, her anger was gone, and the chaos ended. This way, Ra saved humanity, showing what happens if they challenge him. Following this, Sekhmet changed into a calmer figure, becoming Hathor, who stood for love, beauty, and joy. This change in Sekhmet shows how gods in Egyptian stories could both destroy and create, depending on what was needed by the universe. Part 4. Ra's Decline and the Rise of Osiris. Over the years, Ra, like everything alive, started to get older. His rule, which was once complete over the gods and the world, began to weaken. Meanwhile, humanity, having stood up once before, became more defiant, and the younger gods started to question Ra's control. One major challenger was Osiris, a god who stood for justice, the afterlife, and how we return after death. People loved Osiris, and other gods looked up to him because of his wisdom. Seeing Osiris's growing impact, Ra therefore chose to step aside from ruling the earth and gave his duties to Osiris. Osiris took charge of both earth and the afterlife. He decided on the spirits of those who passed away, choosing their paths based on how they'd lived. Under his leadership, the afterlife became more ordered. This shift offered Egyptians hope they could reach eternal life if they lived right. Ra, meanwhile, went back to the heavens, where he kept ruling as the god of the midday sun. He wasn't as engaged in the world's matters as he once was, though. Yet Ra stayed a strong symbol of the sun's life-giving power, the maker force, and the ongoing cycle of life and death and rebirth. Later, Ra often got mixed with other gods such as Amun, forming powerful new gods like Amun-Ra, who stood for the king of the gods and creator of everything. This mixing of gods kept Ra's story going strong, even as Egyptian religion changed throughout thousands of years. Over time, as beliefs shifted, gods often got combined into stronger ones, reflecting people's changing spiritual needs. And this method also made sure older gods like Ra stayed relevant within the shifting group of gods. And that's the tale of Ra, the strong sun god from ancient Egypt. Ra's stories aren't only about how things got started and his power, they're also deep looks into the universe, showing the equilibrium between order and chaos and the never-ending fight between light and dark. Every day, Ra's trip across the sky, his fights with the serpent Apep, and his connections with gods like Osiris show how the ancient Egyptians saw their world and where they fit within it. These tales were not just religious teachings, they were also moral lessons. This influenced heavily what people believed and valued in one of the most impressive civilizations of all time. Thanks for checking out this look at Egyptian mythology. If learning about Ra was fun for you, don't forget to like, comment and follow for more interesting stories from the ancient world. And as always, keep looking into the myths that shaped what we know today.